So we'll be looking at plant growth and growth regulators, conservation in situ and ex situ, impact of climate, application of microorganism in biotech, and lastly, some practical works we can carry out on our own. So I'll be starting right away. All of us know that one of the characteristics of living things, we have talked about reproduction last week on reproduction of plants. So what we're looking at today is growth. Growth. Now, plants being a living thing, they have these characteristics just like every other living thing does to do or to be able to grow, not just increase in size, increase in length as well, and increase in what? Width. So today we'll be looking at an in-depth view of what growth is, phases of growth in plants, and then also we look at plant growth regulators. So introduction, please, I hope you are with your pen and paper. I believe the material have been sent to us, right? And you know, there is a way my class normally goes. Not everything is in material. Sometimes you have to write down some things as well. So plant growth refers to the irreversible
Your screen, excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Excuse me, sir. Please, your screen is just too small. I can't see it. You have to enlarge it.
Sorry?
The
Your
screen
I'm
is
screen
not
is
not
hearing
too
you.
clear.
small. It's too small.
I was saying plant growth refers to the irreversible increase in size and dry mass. Two things, increase in size and increase in what? Dry mass. But now I want you to also take note of this thing when we talk about irreversible. Okay, it's common experience that you can see someone that is fat in human beings now. Let me paint a human being as scenario now. You can see someone that is fat. Let's say probably during let's say poor economy or something, the person will probably lose some fat and get slimmer. Okay, you can now say the person have what shed some weight. But when you talk about plants, most times plants, their increase in size is what? Irreversible, unlike that of humans. Let's not just go that for now. Let's continue. So I want you to note something. When you talk about growth in plants, it is what? Basically irreversible. All right. So this growth in plants involves three aspects: cell division, enlargement, and differentiation. So the growth in plant, when we talk about growth, we are talking about the plant is increasing in number of cells, hyperplasia, or it is what? Increasing in size, hypertrophy, or it is becoming more what? Specialized. That is what you now call what? Cell differentiation. Are we together? I'll repeat again. Growth in plants and also in other animals involve three aspects: growth in number, cell division. When a cell divide and become two, you will say that growth have taken place. Let's say you start with one cell initially, and then the cell divides, becomes two. Two of them divide and become four. Four of the cells divide again and form eight, just like that. If you look at it, you see, yes, this plant is what? Exhibiting the property of what? Growth. It is increasing in number. This can also be called hyperplasia. Hyper, then Plasia. Are we together? Now, the second aspect of growth is what? Increase in size, enlargement, enlargement. Now, when a cell that is small, all of a sudden the cell wall loosens, it was grows bigger. Maybe the vacuole enlarges the more, taking place. The third aspect is when a cell becomes more specialized. Let's say a normal cell now wants to a normal cell in human being now, let's human being for example, nerve cell. That cell will change its shape to resemble a nerve cell. Let's say a cell now as well, a mesodermal cell now wants to become a muscle cell. There is some structural changes it undergoes to be what? Become a muscle cell. So when you are tracking growth, you look at three things. Is the number increasing, or is there an increase in size of the cell, or is there a what a special modification for a specific function? That is cell differentiation. Now, growth does not just continue occurring. In short, let me tell you what you call cancer cells, tumors, is what uncontrolled cell growth. They become tumor, cancerous. So, in a normal condition, cells, their growth has to be what very, very regulated, highly regulated. So, growth in plants is regulated by both genetic and environmental factors. What do I mean by genetic and environmental factors? Genetic meaning something inside of that plant is regulating what is growth. Something is telling it it is time to grow, it is time to enlarge, it is time to increase in number, it is time to differentiate. Also, the environment can influence it as well. The environment I mean here is what availability of sunlight, nutrients, and the rest. So let's look in properly now into growth, phases of growth. Please, everything we're talking about here is concerning the plants, okay? Though I can reference humans so we can talk about something we are familiar with. But the central focus for this class is on what? Plant growth. So in plants, unlike human beings, first of all, if you see a child growing up, you notice something. The child is growing what? Lengthwise, yes. The child is also what will I put it widthwise?
Hello, sir. Hello.
I'm
Sir,
listening.
please, the first, yes, the description you gave about different types of growth in plant. The first one, I didn't quite get it. The first one, please, can you repeat? Thank you.
Okay, if I get your question right, you're talking about the three aspects where growth can occur, right? The three aspects you can see growth have occurred. I say growth involves three things: increase in cell size, number one. Number two, growth also increase in cell number. Number two, growth also involve what? Elongation, increase in size. Number three, growth can also involve what? Specialization, that is differentiation. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you.
All right. So in plants, growth occurs in three key phases. Number one, meristematic phase. Number two, elongation phase. And number three, maturation phase. Meristematic, elongation, and maturation phase. Now, if you look at these three phases that are listed here, you will see that it rhymes with what I mentioned earlier. The three aspects growth occur. You can say growth have occurred in cell division, cell elongation or enlargement, and last one is what? Cell specialization, that is differentiation. So what is, first of all, before we talk about meristematic phase, what is meristem? Meristem simply means a cell that is actively dividing, a what? Dividing cell. Now in plants, there are specific areas where you find cells that are actively dividing. Have you ever wondered why if you see a plant, it will keep growing tall? If let's say there is a branch, that branch will keep growing tall, will keep growing lengthwise. I don't know how to paint this picture in your head now. Why don't you ever imagine why is it that a plant don't just grows? Hi God, how will I explain this to you? First of all, plant growth are regulated in the sense that the growth occurs at the very tip. Now, if you see a shoot, at the tip of the shoot, that is where the growth occurs. It continues growing what? Tall, lengthwise. If you see a branch, at the tip of the branch will keep elongating. Unless there is what? An outbudding. It will start from there and continue elongating as well. It is because
Excuse me, sir.
at these apices, at these tips
Sir,
are
please,
what?
I can't see
Actively
your screen
dividing
now.
cells. Probably your network. At these apices, are you seeing it now?
Yes, sir. I
Hello.
can see it now.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Now, and these apices are what? Cells that are actively dividing, called meristem. So, a plant what grows lengthwise, probably from the shoot. from the roots, the tip of the shoot, the tip of the roots, they have actively dividing cells called what? Meristem. Now, also, the second phase of plant growth is after they are done growing lengthwise and the rest. The second phase of plant growth is what is called elongation. Elongation. Elongation here simply means what? An increase in size. First of all, for meristematic phase, the cells responsible there is called what? Apical meristem. In elongation phase, the cells responsible are what? Lateral meristem. I'll repeat. Cells responsible for meristematic growth are called apical meristem. Cells responsible for elongation phase is called what? Lateral meristem. Now, this meristem present in the what? Present in the what? Sides. They help the cell to do what? Enlarge in size. They grow in width. They grow in gait. Now, the third aspect of plant growth is called the maturation phase. Here, the cells do what? They differentiate. They specialize to form specific tissues, to form what? Special tissues. I believe we mentioned two of them in our previous classes. We talked about the xylem. We also talked about the what? Phloem. Any questions so far? All right. So here is a simple diagram. You see the area of maturation. Here the cell is now growing what? Widthwise. This diagram is somehow inverted. Okay. So it starts from the root down to the tip, down to the shoot. So from the root, you see what? Area of what? Maturation. Now you see also what? Area of elongation. And lastly, you now see the what? Apical meristem. That area of active cell division. Now, factors affecting plant growth. So what are the factors that can affect plant growth? Remember, I mentioned it can be affected based on what it has inside of it, the genetic makeup and hormones. Secondly, it can be affected based on what? External factors. Availability of water, the temperature, is temperature conducive or not, the nutrients, even gravity. Also, presence of light can affect the growth. You see some plants in well lighted area, they will what? Grow balanced. Other plants in where there is what? Poor lighting, you see them growing very tall and thinning up. Why? They are in search of light. Now let us look closely at what? The internal factors. So when you zoom in into internal factors, we are not talking about what? Plant growth regulators. Plant growth regulators. You can also call them what? Plant hormones. So what are plant growth regulators? These are what? Chemical substances that influence plant growth and development. Now, in your body, human body, for example, now, we have specific hormones. What are hormones? Hormones are chemical messengers, okay, produced in one part of the body, secreted inside the bloodstream, and they would affect a change, a physiological change. All right. So, human bodies regulate our what? Every single thing we do, mostly via hormones and neuronal coordination. Are we together? So let's say now you see a snake, immediately your heart starts beating very fast. What happened? Immediately you now receive strength, all of a sudden you can now jump, you can now run miles and will not get tired. What happened? There is release of two key hormones that are responsible for fight and flight. Adrenaline and what? Cortisol hormone. Likewise, in plants, hormones are also what? Used to regulate their growth and their development. Though in plants, they specifically call them what? Plant growth regulators, PGRs. So they are chemical substances just like hormones. They help us regulate their what? Growth and development. Now, these hormones can be naturally occurring. That is, the plant itself can what? Synthesize it, or it can be man-made. Humans can use chemical molecules, chemical compounds to induce growth, to induce development, or even to reduce it. So these ones that are man-made are called synthetic. The ones that are natural are called what? The ones that occur naturally on their own are called natural what? Plant growth regulators. Now let's look at some examples. Types of plant growth regulators. Number one, we have auxins. Auxins. So auxins are what very popular ones. You are likely to see this one in your exam. Auxins, gibberellins, cytokines. You are most likely to see these ones. So what does auxin do? It promotes cell elongation. Cell elongation and what? Root initiation. So auxin are what is key solely responsible for what? Growth. Growing tall, in plants, okay, growing lengthwise, growing widthwise, even what? Beginning of the roots to sprout. Auxins. Number two is what? Gibberellins. 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 Now, gibberellins what? They stimulate the stem to grow in width.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Sir, please show me slide before this one. Slide before this one. Network took me out. I didn't get it.
Okay, so what we talked about before the network disrupted you, please, okay, I don't know if you are inside, probably maybe try coming out or find somewhere where network may be a bit stable. Okay. So what we talked earlier was on plant growth regulators. We talked about hormones, okay? We say plant growth regulators are just like hormones that can be found in the body. They help to regulate the growth in plants. They help to ensure that plants grow when they are needed. That is, the growth are what? Solely or very what? Regulated. The plant does not grow abnormally tall. It does not just what? Remain dormant. Plant regulators are also responsible for telling plants more bro, at this weather condition, please stop so we conserve nutrients. That is, enter the state of dormancy. It is also responsible for telling seed to do what? Oh yeah, kick out of dormancy, start what? Growing. So we are now looking at types of these plant growth regulators. You mentioned number one, a very popular one, auxins. Auxins, what do auxins do? They'll tell the plant to what? Keep growing lengthwise. Also what? They promote the growth in what? Widthwise. That is cell elongation and cell division. Number two, talked about gibberellins. Gibberellin. What do they do? They stimulate stem elongation. Please take note. Auxins talk about cell division and the rest. Gibberellin talks about what? Stem elongation. That is the growth in width. Gibberellin is also responsible for breaking dormancy in seed. That it helps in seed germination. Number three, cytokine. Cytokinin. 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 Now, cytokinin promotes cell division and it delays senescence. Senescence. This simply means what? Cell aging. Cell aging and death. So cytokinin is responsible for what? Helping the plant to grow and prevent apoptosis, that is cell death. Number three, number four, abscisic acid, ABA. So abscisic acid induces dormancy and stress responses. It induces dormancy. So it's telling the plant, conserve your what? Nutrients, stop growing, stop elongating, stop enlarging. Maybe it is what? In response to stress, when conditions are not favorable or when there is not enough nutrients, enough sunlight, or the temperature is harsh, it tells the plant to do what? Conserve the nutrients you have by doing what? Entering a state of dormancy. It is just the same scenario you see in animals. When conditions become adverse, they enter a state of hibernation. Now, number five, ethylene. Ethylene promotes the ripening of fruits and also what? Leaf falling. Okay, so we have talked about how plants grow. We have looked at the phases of plant growth: meristematic phase, cell elongation, cell maturation. We are now looking at what? Conservation of biodiversity. How can we be able to do what? Preserve these natural resources we have. So we will see to it that they do what? That the benefits we receive from them, we will continue even in what? Years to come. So that we can aim to do what? Preserve our species, our habitat, our ecosystem. So that is what we'll be discussing under what? Conservation of biodiversity. First of all, what is biodiversity? Biodiversity means what? Um, different species. Are we together? It simply means what? Different species of animals, of habitat, and ecosystem. Biological what? Diversity. Conservation talks about what? Preservation, protection, restoration. Okay. So conservation of biodiversity is now talking about ways that we can preserve our natural habitat, our species, ways we can preserve the ecosystem to see to it that our actions does not what? Destroy it. Now, there are two key strategies employed in conserving our natural resources. I don't know if you are getting me. Okay, let me paint a scenario in your head. Imagine, okay, there was once a time ostrich. You know the ostrich, that big large bird, right? There was once a time there was a prize on an ostrich. If you are able to kill an ostrich, that time is like you are a millionaire. So everybody began to do what? Poach ostrich. Anywhere you see it, they start killing it. Back then in the days around the 18th, 70s, it was hard to kill an ostrich. Why? It is very fast. But then, as things are evolving, humans are getting wiser. From using swords to using bows and arrows to very soon they're now using gun. So the speed of poaching became easier and even faster. So one can easily what? Kill an ostrich. Before you know it, the number of ostrich began to do what? Reduce and drop and drop. Are you getting me? Now, if there was no control to how the killing rate was growing, soon we would have heard that ostrich are now what? Endangered species. Likewise, there was once a time I heard this story in my own locality. Though there was once a time it was as if you killed an elephant, if you can get the tops of an elephant, the horn of an elephant, um what was it called again? Okay, no, in my own locality it was lion. Then they will give you this Igbo title. Are we together? Now, in such a scenario, that is what can lead to endangered species, where there is massive poaching of an animal because of a price attached to it. Are we together? Now, humans now what? Say, okay, let us devise a means that we can conserve these things nature have given to us, so that our lifestyle, our activities will not what? Put them into danger of extinction. So there are two key strategies: in situ and second one, ex situ. So in situ, what are we talking about? We're talking about preserving these species in their natural habitat. Let's say you enter a forest and you now say, from this place to this place, this forest is now under the government preservation. There should be no form of killing of animal in this area. That is inside to conservation. You are not taking the animals away from their natural habitats. No. Rather, you are now issuing a law that there should be no killing, no poaching within that habitat. Examples of where these things have happened includes what? National parks, wildlife sanctuaries, biospheres. I don't know if you have heard about, I think, Yangari National Reserve. Now, the second strategy employed is also called what? ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation. Now, this is the preserving of animals outside their natural habitat. Conservation of wildlife outside their natural habitat. Okay. In ex situ most times it's employed when an animal is endangered in such a way that even its own environment is not conducive enough again for it to live in. What are you going to use paint here? Okay, let's use a deer to paint an illustration now. Let's say that the numbers of deers were drastically reduced because of hunting. Let's say humans started hunting deer, that the deer meat now became like Christmas chicken. Everyone now wants to kill what? A deer. Very soon the deer becomes what? An endangered species. I'm painting an example now, okay? Now you will get to know that even if you should stop humans from poaching a deer, from killing a deer, you are not also stopping a lion in the field from also killing that deer. Let's put a very drastic situation now that the number of deers in a whole locality was just about 10. And now humans agreed, a government issued a law, let there be no killing. Anyone that kills a deer is what liable to what? Let's say 10 years imprisonment. Now you are stopping humans from killing, it's good and fine, but you are not also stopping the lions, which means to some extent the animal's environment has also become what? Inconducive, unsafe for it to exist in. Now humans now derive another strategy called what? Excite towards conservation. What happens here? You now bring the animal outside of its natural habitat and put it what? In an environment where you can now what? Feed it, train it, and preserve it. Example, a zoo. That's where you now see let's say you now see they will take these animals, create an environment for them, zoo for example, keep them there where they feed them and breed them to make sure that they what? Repopulate again. So examples include botanical gardens. This is for um special plants that are also almost going what? Extinct. They will now what? Start breeding them on their own. You see seed bank, gene bank, tissue culture, um repositories. These are all examples of excited conservation. They are now removing the plant from natural habitat and putting it in a space setup in an environment humans created themselves. Now, it is not only the actions of human beings that impact conservation. No, so far we have been talking about poaching, killing, what we do, what we don't do. Now, it is not just our actions, even the climate also contributes. Now, the climate has an impact on conservation. Okay, for the past few days now, it has been raining non-stop. If there is a, let's say there is no serious change in climate, change in weather cycles, or probably longer dry season, shorter rainy season, all these adverse effects can what also impact our ability to do what? Conserve our natural resources. Climate changes affect species distribution, phenology, and even what? Habitat condition. Example, overflowing. Flood can break out somewhere and cause series of what? Damages. Also, what's it called? Desert encroaching into what? Where was once normal habitat of some animals. When an environment what? Now somehow start becoming what? Deserts. Are you seeing? Is now what? Causing that their habitat to what? Come unfavorable for them to live in, thereby affecting what? Species that are distributed there. Now, challenges conservation efforts. This thing challenges conservation efforts due to what? Rising temperature, altered rainfalls, and extreme what? Events. Something like volcanic eruption, something else like earthquakes. All right. Now let's clear our gaze a little from animals and enter into the worlds of microscope, microorganisms. What are microorganisms? Microorganism is made up of two individual words, micro and then organism. When you talk about micro, you're talking about something that is too small to be seen with the naked eye. Something that you now need what? A microscope to be able to see. When you talk about an organism, you're talking about something that has life, right? So microorganism simply means what? Organisms that can be seen, that cannot be seen with the naked eye, but must be seen with what? The aid of an instrument, a microscope. Now, microorganisms are widely used in food production, health, and industry. They play key roles in fermentation, antibiotic production, antibiotic mean drugs, okay, and genetic engineering. So let's look at application of this microorganism in food industry. Example is what? Yeast. Now, nobody here will say he or she has not eaten bread. Have you ever asked yourself how does that bread rise? Yeast. It is yeast that do what? Cause something what is called fermentation. Due to fermentation process, they release carbon dioxide that causes the what? Dough to rise. Secondly, you can also see them in what? Alcoholic beverages. Yeast are also employed there. Also, lactic acid bacteria in yogurt and cheese production. Lactic acid bacteria are utilized in what? Producing yogurt and producing cheese. Also, enzymes for food processing can be manufactured from microorganisms as well. Okay, we have looked at the food sectors. Let's explore the what? Health sector. Even it seems that if this is where it is even much more important. Prior to the development of antibiotics, Jesus Christ, there has been lots and lots of deaths and casualties. Thank God for the discovering of penicillin. I think that's the first antibiotic medicine that showed us that bacteria can be actually what? Very useful. Secondly, it is used in production of what? Vaccine, hepatitis B, using yeast vectors. Lastly, it is used in what? Gene therapy and recombinant insulin from E. coli bacteria. Now, diabetes patients is a type of diabetes whereby the what? Body does not produce enough insulin. Insulin is what allows your body cells to receive glucose. Let's not go into that. That's a whole big topic on its own. But I want you to have it in mind. Insulin allows the cells to accept glucose for digestion to take place. Glycolysis, TDA cycle, electron transport chain. Now, if insulin is not available, all these processes will not occur. The body will not release energy. You now start hearing something like hyper what? Glycemia, excessive sugar in the what? Blood. When this thing occur, it can lead to what? Serious health effects. Now, due to the knowledge of microorganisms, they can be produced, insulin can be produced in what? Microorganisms, harvested from them, and can be given to humans as what? Medication. When you now take the insulin in, it will now what? Help you. Are you seeing it? So these are few applications in health sector. There are many, but these are the few we are able to what? Capture down. Okay, we are nearing the end of the class today. Let's look at the practical sectors, then I will allow us to ask our questions. Please, are there any questions so far? Any questions so far? People are following up to this point.
Sir, please,
All right, that's
the
wonderful.
application of excuse me, sir. Please, application of
Hello, sir. Please share the slide for microorganisms,
Please,
please.
can you
I didn't get it. I said the slide for microorganism. Could you share it, please?
This slide, I think someone was asking a question initially.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Please,
so
can
what's
you
the question?
repeat what you said?
I said, Shed, let me
Please, can
screenshot
you
it,
repeat?
please.
Hello, I'm not hearing you. Your voice is not
This
audible.
one, let me screenshot it too, please.
I know, no, it's not there. It's someone else in the background that's asking a question. I'm not hearing her voice.
Okay, I said you should please revisit the application of microorganism in food
Okay,
industries and
okay.
the rest. Thank you, sir.
I'll revisit it after this. Okay, I said first of all, we are going to capture two key areas where microorganisms can be what used, applied. First of all is in the what food industry. I say yeast is a microorganism. It can be used in what production of bread and beverages. This involves a process called fermentation. Also, lactic acid is what lactic acid bacteria is used in what yogurt and cheese production. Those that produce yogurt and cheese, they utilize this microorganism that produces what lactic acid. Thirdly, enzymes. Those that are what there's an aspect in food industry called food processing. They utilize enzymes from microorganisms. They bring microorganisms, harvest the enzymes, which they use to do what treat on food to process food. Now, in the aspect of health, antibiotics are utilized as well. Example, penicillin that is taken from an organism called penicillium. It is used for what? Production of antibiotics used to fight bacteria. Secondly, it is used in what? Production of vaccines. Vaccines. Example of vaccine, hepatitis B. That is enlargement of the liver. Hepatitis B. Using what? Yeast vectors. Thirdly, in gene therapy and recombinant insulin. Okay. Also, it can be used in production of what key things like this. Insulin. Insulin. Insulin is utilized in the body um to absorb glucose. Okay, for energy production. When it is defective, when it cannot be produced enough again in the body, it can produce them in microorganisms, harvest them, and now what give it to human being as medication. All right, so let's look at the practical section. Growth regulators. So now this practical is something you can do. You can buy these chemicals in the market. You can go to the sector concerning with probably let's say farming. Yes, you can ask them for some of these. You can buy it and watch it out yourself. Now, application of auxins on stem cuttings for root initiation. When you see a plant, just cut the stem, okay? Cut the stem, get an auxin, apply it there. Before you know it, give it a few days, the roots will start to sprout out from that stem that you cut. But then, in everything in practical, you have to do one, your test, and then a control. So, get a plant, cut, let's say, which plant are you going to use now? You just get the plant, cut the stem, cut like two, keep the two of them separately. One of them apply auxin, the other one don't apply. You notice something. The one you applied auxin, the root will sprout out quickly within few days. The one you did not apply, the roots may or may not sprout out. Even if it did sprout out, it will take a longer time than the one you applied auxin. This is to show you that what auxin help in root initiation. Number two, use of gibberellins to promote seed germination and stem elongation. You can get seed, apply gibarins to it, get another seed, don't apply. Then notice which of them was the one that will grow quickly. Thirdly, observation of ethylene effect. Did I mention ethylene to us? I don't think I did. This ethylene helps in what? Ripening of fruits. So when you get ethylene, you can apply it on the banana and you notice how quickly banana is going to what? Ripe. Okay, this practical, this one now is what I even love us to do. Conservation of plants. You can design an in-situ conservation setup in a simulated environment. This will be a bit harder to control. If you have a compound, you can say, okay, you can just do this one. You can be like, tell your younger ones, for this area now, nobody's allowed to come here. You are what? Working on a practical. You can use a tape or something to what? Measure out a plot of land and mark it as what? Nobody should cross. You can now put up a probably a mini signboard saying what? Practical in progress. You putting that thing alone will make nobody to do what? Enter that field. You have conserved every life form there, allowing it to do what? Grow on its own. Secondly, let's do an exercise too. In exercise too, you are now what? Can we do seed storage technique? No, we don't have the materials needed for this. Okay, you can do this one. You can create a botanical garden. You can go and get plants that you know are in you can get plants, then plant it in smaller containers. I was breed it. That is still what excites conservation. Then micro propagation. No, this is beyond us. Can't do this one. So summary and key takeaway. Plant growth involve the what cell activities regulated by hormone. Plant growth involves three key aspects, like I mentioned earlier: cell division, increase in cell size, cell division, then increase in cell size, and then cell differentiation. Number one, increase in cell number, cell division, increase in size, cell elongation, and lastly, increase in what? That is sorry. Lastly is what? Specialization of the cell. That is differentiation. Also, growth regulators can either enhance or inhibit growth depending on what which type of growth regulator you're talking about. Thirdly, biodiversity conservation is essential amidst climate threats. That is, we talked about the what duty of what conservation of what our environment, natural environment given to us by God. Also, microorganisms are indispensable, meaning their usage is what they are very important in our day-to-day activities. They are indispensable what in biotech application. And lastly, we looked at some key practicals we can also work out on our own. So this brings us to the end of the class and just a little session for us to ask questions. Are there any questions so far?
Sir, please, could you share the first screen where you started? Because network took me off, so I was cut off. Please.
Okay, so I should start on the first one where I started, right?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, I'll do just that. Any other question? Okay, so what I was talking about here was on plant growth. Plant growth. So I say plant growth refers to an irreversible increase in size and dry mass of plants that involves three key aspects: cell division, cell enlargement, and what? Cell differentiation. Then lastly, plant growth is regulated by what? Gene and environmental factors. Let me explain. When we talk about growth is not just somebody is adding weight. No. You say growth can be what checked from three different angles. The cells, are the number of the cells increasing? Are the number of cells increasing? Okay, thank you for the feedback. What was I saying earlier? Talking about plant growth. So I said plant growth involves a what irreversible increase in size, not just size. We also talk about what increase in cell number, cell division. Also talk about what specialization. That is the plant changing from maybe one form and becoming more specialized. Are you still with me? All right. So these are the three key aspects of what plant growth. So that was all about the first slide. Is there any other question you have? Any other question?
Sir, help us to upload the slides in our app. The thing have been giving us a concern, especially me. You know, we have a lot to read. So once you didn't upload it, we might not even go back to it again because we have a lot to read. But if you upload it, it will help us to make some notes immediately and move on to another thing.
Okay, okay. To be taking note of. I'm taking note of it. All right. Thank you so much for the feedback. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the class tonight. I wish all of us a beautiful weekend.
Thank you. God bless you. Bless everyone. Good night.